I'm a trained remote viewer. I lived in Tibet for a year, where I was sent to be trained to learn about magic. Um, I'm also trained in interspecies communications, which means that basically I can talk to anything. I didn't say anybody, I said anything. I can talk to the walls of your factory and tell you secrets that are secrets even to the people that work there. Stuff that the consciousness of the walls of your factory has kept tabs on, excuse me, while I set myself up to be protected, which is, in this case, my dog. Okay, thank you for being here. Interspecies communication is very interesting because when I talk to animals, they have very interesting information to give. They're gossips. Animals are gossips, and they have a sense of humor, and they also have wisdom. So it's a pleasure to speak to them. Speaking to the walls of a place, that's a different story. No sense of humor. Everybody has some kind of a quality of consciousness. So what are we going to talk about today? Unseen factors in business. We're going to talk about what's going on with employees, but even business owners, except we don't have to deal with it with business owners so openly. What is going on with the fact that probably at this point over 80–85% of employees in this country, the United States, and I'm sure it's the case across the world, are just not committed to their jobs. They show up, they perform, they leave, they show up again the next day, or they don't show up. But they don't have that commitment, that vector that Elon Musk talks about and that we have shown you, and which I will show. Oh, I'm afraid to work with this platform and end up throwing everything into disarray. What is going on in terms of the way people work today and the fact that they don't want to work? There is a lack of vitality that's very real because Wi-Fi destroys your etheric body, which is the body of vitality. When you are under anesthetics, how they knew how to do it, don't know, but they did. They take the etheric body, they separate it from your physical body, and then you can't feel anything. When you're in a coma, when you can't move, you can't move, you can't react. Your etheric body is separate. Your etheric body feels things, it gives you vitality. If your physical body stands up without the etheric body inside of it, it will collapse. This is just a bag of bones and skin. The etheric body is important, but it cannot tolerate too much radiation, too many frequencies of electricity or Wi-Fi, and it's getting too much. And it's not balanced out by going into nature, by going to where there is the earth element or there's the water element that would put out the fire from all that radiation. So that's one thing that needs to be taken care of when it comes to business in terms of unseen factor. And then I'll repeat something that I've probably said here before, but bears repeating. I was doing sales training with my skills with a company I work with on a continuous basis. And this was 2 or 3 years ago. And I worked with each individual person, and there were, I don't know if there were 5 or 6 people. And my question that I would ask psychically, and I would get my answer, what does this person need to know? What needs to change for their sales to be higher? Salespeople were very happy with this because they earn a commission. They wanted higher sales. Everybody except for one, the one thing that was costing them sales was that they slept with their cell phones. What kind of an executive coaching session is this that I should get into the way people sleep? But that's what came up for everyone except for one person. And when I asked, because I would first ask, you sleep with your cell phone? Yeah. Nobody denied it. Nobody thought it was an issue. I said, well, that is stopping you from making more sales. And then I was encouraged to ask the next question. When you wake up in the morning, do you wake up needing to drink water? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I'm desperately thirsty in the morning. That's dry mouth. That happens to old people, 65, 70, 75, 80, and they're on medications. These were young people in their 40s. Maybe there was a couple in their 30s, somebody in their 50s. basically 40s, and they had dry mouth. They slept with their cell phone. Cell phone radiates microwave. Microwave boils water. Our cells are water. So that was an unseen factor that was very important. In other words, environment. They weren't sticking the cell phone inside of them. They were right next to it. Or they would say, I don't sleep with my cell phone. Where is it? It's right on the nightstand. Oh, so you figure it's like 4 feet away? Yeah. Microwave brings you images all the way from Afghanistan to your TV set. You don't think it's reaching you from your nightstand? Please. Okay. Environmental factors, very important. But then we get to what's going on at a more profound level with an internal process of the planet and of humans, which is that we are in a collapse of the paradigm that we have been living under for at least 2,000 years and probably thousands more, which is a paradigm built on hierarchy, which is triangular in shape in terms of power. The people at the top have lots of power, and as you go down the triangle, the different levels of people in organizations have less power, and everybody has to support, respect, and obey the person that's further up, and especially the one at the top. Well, in the other dimensions, that triangle, which is a structure, a literal structure, collapsed. The fall of hierarchy. And in the Bible, it says, and the meek shall inherit the earth. We have that happening in a world where everything is based on hierarchy, not community. And that structure, which is a literal structure, collapsed. So there's no support for hierarchy. So we can expect to see a collapse of society. But before it totally collapses, which may be relatively soon, maybe not at all, maybe later, it doesn't matter. We can expect to see a lot of companies breaking down and a lot of relationships breaking down. And this started many years ago when we realized that our children many times knew more than their parents, and yet we still require that they obey. Catholic Church, hierarchy, sexual abuse, forever. In the 1400s, there were several books that were written about the church having houses of prostitution. In other words, we've known this. Okay, but there was a hierarchy that sustained society. So everybody obeyed. Today, there may be less sexual abuse because of all the social media, etc., in terms of the Catholic Church, but people aren't taking it anymore. That's not right. It wasn't right 600 years ago. But today, we don't have that structure supporting us in saying, well, they're the bosses. They're going to do whatever they want. That's not there anymore. There is no protection for the people at the top anymore at all. So this collapse of the paradigm is basically the collapse of civilization as we know it. Years ago, companies and people, especially people like in the New Age movement, they were starting new companies, very small, several people who did alternative healings would get together and they'd do a community and they'd do a corporation and they'd open a business, and it never worked because the support for community structure was not completed, which is circular. It's completed already. So if you build something that is circular in nature, community in nature, with everybody created supposedly equal, etc., you have more chance of success than if you build something, a company, where it's a hierarchy and the guy at the top is everything and everybody underneath has to obey. So we have that going on today. And if you know that when you're reorganizing your business, then you can be wiser and adjust to what it is that the other dimensions is going to support for you. And then we come to the issue of obeying. I just finished my book, 30 some years in the making, the reason why I was born, the reason why actually several people died in the process of trying to support my survival so that I could bring this knowledge to the table. Not ready to say those stories yet, but it was obvious, and there was a telepathic exchange, that these people at different times said, you need to continue. This has to happen this way because you have to continue, which I did not understand then. I do today. How beautiful that we work together as a community. And sometimes it's easier to die than to continue living. I can vouch for that. So we have this obeying thing. I finished my book and I realized that humans have been constructed as creators. And some people say we're creator gods. That's absolutely the truth. That's the basis for the movement that came together, the Mantrist movement, where we handle things with mantras and other things. We can create anything we want, or we can live other people's creations or what we reacted to, and then we created as a reaction to that. But when I finished the book, it was like we were constructed literally, the energy bodies, the mind streams, everything to create. And then we were instructed to obey. If you're a creator God, what are you doing obeying? Well, you didn't know you were a creator God. You didn't know that you could create with your mind. Oh yeah, visualization, something. Oh yeah, but not really. And it took forever. So now that it is apparently time for that information to reach all of us, including me, because I'm putting it together, I became aware of so many things, including that. We need to create. But this whole obeying thing is really in our way. How many laws, how many restrictions? Why do we have to wait why do we have to stop the car if there's a railroad track and the train is going to pass? You have to obey that. You stop. There's a train. There's two reasons. The law says, and number two, this is stupid. You don't want to go when there's a train coming. Well, if you're a creator God, you just go over it. What? Yeah, you just go over it. Why is that an obstacle? You created that train to start out with. Well, I don't know. You will know very soon, but you have to get used to it. And with the creation comes, with the power comes a responsibility, but we don't need to get into that because it's a lot more fun to create than to obey. But it's also a lot more scary because then you're responsible for what it is that you're creating. So we have that other issue. And then we go into the whole thing of we are at end times. We can no longer work for hierarchy, for the guy at the top, for the company. We can't work for 40 years and then retire, and then we get a watch and a little banquet in our honor and everything's fine and we did everything great for 40 years. We're lucky if we can get people to work for 6 months straight. They're not interested. They don't care. But there's a huge issue even with the older people who do care and who want to be the way they were before. And that is that because of revelations, we're in revelations, we can see and feel everything. And we can feel in our hearts that what we're doing doesn't feel right. To sell a product that we kind of already know is not good for people, may have worked before, it doesn't work today. And the person knows it. People know it. And they may not say, I can't really get full-bodied into this job because I really don't like what this product does. They could just do sabotage without even really being aware of why or what happened to their commitment to the company. They didn't think about it. It just didn't, it's not working anymore. The whole issue with aligning with your mission is critical. And one of the things that I tell people is that you can't align with your mission in 2 seconds flat. You might be able to because you're a creator God, but chances are it's going to take you a little bit longer than that. But there is a mantra that if you do it, it's actually the mantra, the number one mantra that gives the most relief immediately. And it is the intention mantra. Please, God, help me with my intention to align with my prosperous mission. You repeat it silently in your head. Please, God, help me with my intention. Please, God, help me with my intention to align with my prosperous mission. It can be your mission. There is no reason why you should not become a millionaire. If you notice the people that make the most money, when they were making the most money, they loved what they were doing. They loved it. And then if they got tired, they did it too many times, it became repetitive, they wanted to change, whatever. Their lifestyle took them into behaviors and stuff that weren't conducive towards continuing their art or their work. Then things start to go down and the money starts to go down and the admiration goes down. They're not aligned anymore. They got too many other things going on. They don't really like that anymore. Like I had a business and it was very successful, even though when I left it wasn't, because I was no longer aligned with it. I didn't want to be there. That's in the book. You'll be able to read that little story and a couple of others that are very helpful in understanding how important it is that we actually know what we are, who we are, and what we can do. And applying it again to work, I'm going to put on now, it's like 4 or 5 minutes, a video that I did that is very interesting because it's been entirely too many people that I know personally that I've sent to the video. They've watched it. They never got back to me. That's okay. I have 1,000, 2,000 videos. But later on at some point, for some reason, they said, you know, that video, after that, I decided I was going to do this. I decided I was going to leave my job as quickly as I could, as soon as I set myself up. After that video, I couldn't continue to do what I was doing. But they never said it to me. They never said to me, this video basically stopped me in my tracks. And I am making different decisions. Let's put it on now and you'll be able to see it. And then we'll talk for a couple of minutes and then that will be it. What have we discussed today? Unseen factors in business, which is a collapse of hierarchy, not the stepladder of success and not everybody adoring or forgiving everything for the guy at the top. Lack of vitality. If you don't have enough vitality, why on earth would you even consider a huge new project, even if you're supposed to make a lot of money? You don't have the energy for it. Oh yeah, but you don't, that vector that has to come from you is weak. And that is the vector, by the way, that channels the God particle when you create something that's totally magical. So let's put the video on and enjoy it, and then we'll be back. And let's see if I can do this correctly, or if this is going to work. Okay. And you know what's so fascinating? When I found out about how nice cannabis was, I was not aware of how the mind streams from string theory, from the Lord's Prayer, the original one in Aramaic, the thing that is the most nurturing and protected of the mind streams is cannabis. And society decided to point a finger at it and say that it was the tool of the devil because it reveals the other dimensions, which is where your power is, which is where you're going to be once your physical body dies. So I didn't know all of these things, and I really did not even have that mantra when I finally left my business because I was taking it bankrupt. I just knew that I had to work in something that had to do with the reason why I was born. I wasn't sure what it was. I had no idea. I just knew I couldn't continue to simply perform at a job. And it has turned out very well. I did not miss a beat having to do with income, which is like really weird. And I'm better positioned than I ever would have been if I had stayed in that place. I did not know that when I decided I had to do what it was that someplace inside of me I knew I needed to do in order to help people with my skills. You can do the same thing. And I strongly suggest that you do it because I believe, as do many people, that things are going to get very tough economically. And I think that if you are simply into survival, like I must keep this job because we have to have food on the table, or I can't really go after something more interesting because we don't know what's going to happen. If you are security minded, if you're a survivor, if you are afraid of taking risks, you're going to have a really hard time with what's coming up next. I suggest that from now you start however it is that you're going to do it, because I didn't do that mantra. I didn't have it when I did this years ago very successfully. It was scary, but it was very successful. You need to do your version of that so that if something happens, you'll be one of the few people left standing because you love what it is that you do. And you're not too tired. The too tired part is very important also. So we will be here again at 3 o'clock on Thursday. We skipped last week. We were finishing the book. We're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. But there was a priority there. And we're still having issues. Computers breaking down, all sorts of things. So it was supposed to be last week, supposed to be today. Today, it turns out the company can't turn in the computer until tomorrow. So it should be this week that it will be up on Amazon and it will be up on our store and you will be able to purchase it. We're very excited. And everything in there has to do with the fact that you are constructed to create. And we are hopefully giving you the information so that you can believe it and the tools so that you can do it more easily. And thank you for listening. And we will be back in a couple of days.